Happy Tuesday! A new pro-life bill hit Governor DeSantis' desk. The feds put weird, sketchy things in the budget again. And an update from the Texas Supreme Court on the Heartbeat Act. Let's get started.
So last week, the Texas Supreme Court gave a final blow to the abortion plaintiffs, the abortion industry's federal lawsuits challenging the Texas Heartbeat Act. And specifically kind of what happened was the Fifth Circuit said, hey, we don't know if the Texas Medical Board, the Texas Department of Nursing, whether they have enforcement authority under under Senate Bill 8. So let's go ask the Texas courts, which is something that's normal to happen when when there's an issue that is really a state issue. The federal courts aren't going to try and decide for the states. They're going to kick that specific question to the state court who has jurisdiction. And so we call that certifying a question. Now, the abortion industry fought tooth and nail to prevent that certifying the question to the Texas Supreme Court from happening, and they lost every step of the way because exactly because it's known to be a favorable pro-life court, the Texas Supreme Court. And so in a unanimous opinion, they said late last week in an opinion authored by Justice Jeff Boyd that no, these government agencies have no enforcement authority over the Texas Heartbeat Act. And that's a good thing. That is the lack of government enforcement is what makes Texas's Heartbeat Act different from other different types of abortion bans across the country, and is why the Heartbeat Act has been allowed to go into effect and save 100 lives a day since September 1st. And so it was a resounding victory that essentially closes the federal litigation. The Fifth Circuit now will have to do, kind of tie up the package and tie the bow. Is that the right word? Yeah, tie the bow. But they were the abortion industry was lamenting this loss. I think Kim has something from one of the quotes that was kind of crazy last week.
Yes, what was the one you shared with us?
Yeah, the Center for Reproductive Rights, so the attorney in this case representing the abortion industry, told the Associated Press that this lawsuit is effectively dead, that there's nothing else that they can do. It's on a positive for us, a positive path forward. And that leaves just one vehicle left for Planned Parenthood to try to take down the Texas Heartbeat Act, and that's Planned Parenthood's lawsuit against us. And so we're just going to have to see how they're going to interpret that. But we've talked before how there were the three kind of pillars that the abortion industry used to approach Heartbeat, to try to take Heartbeat down. The first was this lawsuit that every step that it took, it got weaker and weaker and weaker. And then we had the Biden administration's lawsuit against the state of Texas, and the U.S. Supreme Court immediately threw that one out. That one
that was nice.
Yeah, that one was good. And then their last line of defense are the 14 lawsuits against Texas Right to Life. Planned Parenthood's only shot to take down Heartbeat now is their lawsuit against us. So we're really the last line of defense now, like very literally the last line of defense to protect Heartbeat. But it's really cool, really encouraging to see that we can, as a pro-life movement, be bold and win.
I mean, speaking of being bold, look what Florida did.
Right. So Florida passed a 15-week ban here, and that will go into effect July 1st. So this summer, it's headed its way to Governor DeSantis' desk. So passed both houses. It's just waiting on a signature now.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
Big step forward. It's kind of similar to when we did, 20-week ban.
Right.
So steps forward. This is modeled after, which bill was it?
Mississippi's law. So the Mississippi law and the Florida law are both predicated on the idea of preborn pain, that the child in the womb can feel pain, probably more intense than like you and I feel pain. And whenever you think about the barbarism of abortion, that makes it even more gruesome, because not only is this being dismembered alive one of the most gruesome ways that you can die, but they can feel likely more pain than what we would actually feel during that. So Texas passed the Preborn Pain Act banning abortions after 20 weeks back in 2013. And you guys were in the Capitol, rough and tough, tumbling with John Seago in the Capitol. And then Mississippi's law, now new science has come out saying that, likely the preborn child can feel pain earlier than even 20 weeks. Mm-hmm. So the more that we learn about the preborn child in the womb, then we know more. Oh, well, it's even better if we can pass this bill at 15 weeks. So Mississippi passed their law about to protect preborn children at 15 weeks. Now that's up at the Supreme Court, and that could be the vehicle that overturns Roe v. Wade entirely. Now, Florida has joined the club.
Woohoo! Welcome, Florida.
Welcome, Florida. Governor DeSantis, glad to have you among friends here. And come on our podcast sometime.
Wouldn't that be great? Goals. All right, I'll invite him next week.
I have a question. So, Veronica, tell us about what is the development of an unborn child about 15 weeks?
I'm so glad you asked. All right, so I'm a biology nerd, so that's probably why you're asking me. I have a biology degree from Texas A&M, and it's definitely one of those rabbit holes I love to go down and study various bits of embryology. So about 15 weeks, well, first let me talk about 20 weeks. So by the time that a baby reaches 20 weeks, all of their organs are in place and functioning as they should. Now they just have to grow bigger. So
is that why we have 20-week scans when we're pregnant?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. I'm so glad you asked. I'm loving all these baited questions. So at 20 weeks, they do the big ultrasound scan. If you've ever been that far along pregnant before, then you would know that, that's when you go in for the big scan. It takes usually like 30 minutes to an hour, and they check all the baby's organs to make sure that everything is there and functioning correctly. And that at that point, the baby, all they need is just time. So at 15 weeks, that's not quite happened yet. All their organs are still developing before they can function properly. So at 15 weeks, though, like you said, there's science that shows that they can feel pain no later than 15 weeks. Some babies and some studies have shown that they've been able to feel pain even earlier. 15 weeks is also around the time when a baby starts to develop hearing in utero. I think that's really, really interesting. They can start to hear the music that you play. And if you ever go to a gun range, like we like to do, you have to wear protective equipment for your womb. So that's really interesting to think about. You literally have to protect your baby's hearing at that point. And there's just a lot of other really wonderful things. Of course, heartbeat begins at 21 days. Brainwaves are at 6 weeks, but by 15 weeks, most women are beginning to show. And if you have ever had like a subsequent pregnancy, sometimes you can feel your baby move and kick around 15 weeks as well. For first time pregnancies, not so much, but second, third, fourth, so on, sixth, ninth, you can feel your baby move.
Army.
Yeah, small armies.
I did not know that was why the "Are you pregnant?" questions on the gun range forums.
No,
I thought it was related to lead. Maybe it kind of is.
No, it's because your baby, you can literally affect. It's actually nerd alert. The sound is amplified in the womb because think about like if you're ever swimming underwater and someone like claps on the wall or like claps on the wall. It's a really loud pop. Imagine for a little baby fetus that going to a gun range, that sound is actually amplified in utero. So it's very important. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
There you go.
The more you know.
Exactly.
Right. Cool.
Exactly. So Florida's law, it could be better. It's a good check mark, just like Texas passed preborn pain, like good check mark. We think that they could go further and copy the Texas Heartbeat Act. We're working with like a dozen other states to try to pass that. So, and Florida has been one of them that's reached out and we've talked to. So hopefully they'll check another box off. But it's good to have Florida fighting the good fight, passing some more laws.
It's good cultural steps. It's a move forward.
Mm-hmm, for
Absolutely.
sure.
A few people have asked me before, which one do you think will get there first, or which one's more effective, which bill or which lawsuit? And they're all good. Honestly, they're all really good. And and it's hard to say which one will happen first, but I like to imagine like this chessboard, or maybe not chessboard. How about Monopoly? So you're going around the track, you've got your little cursor, it's moving around. There's a bunch of different little characters moving around this board. They're all good. They're all getting to the same goal. So we would love for all of these to pass. And that's the goal. There's just a lot of different approaches. So there's not really one that's like perfect. You know, we want all of them. We need the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. We want it to go back to the states. We need the states to pass pro-life laws to ban abortion. We need all of these things to happen.
Yep.
Speaking of crazy stuff, the Round Rock ISD Superintendent Hafed Azai's new court documents have come out saying that he was involved with this woman, and this mistress actually became pregnant. Then he tried to pressure her to have an abortion, saying that this is going to ruin my family. This is going to ruin my career. You have to get an abortion. We have to cover this up. And she said, no, I'm not going to have an abortion. This baby has a heartbeat. I know that it's wrong. I want to, have this baby. And he said, if you have this baby, like this is his baby, allegedly, according to the court documents.
Yes, allegedly.
Right. Yes. So if you have this baby, that's going to ruin my career. It's going to ruin my family. And so he was pressuring her and showed up to the place where she lives and assaulted her, she says.
That's terrible.
And it's just heartbreaking to see, just evil multiplies whenever you start in that spot and then trying to cover it up with abortion. It's really eye-opening to see that.
Well, then covered up with an assault.
Yes.
It's just three terrible things that he's done to this woman.
Exactly. And so just for, information's sake, he is being investigated by the Texas Education Agency.
Yes.
Is that what it's called? The TEA?
Yes.
The letters. He's being investigated by that and by the school district. That's what it's called.
Round Rock
Yes.
ISD.
Thank
Round
you.
Rock ISD.
The
yeah,
ISD.
Which, for the non-Texas viewers, that's outside of Austin, so keep
Yeah, a little
Austin
bit
weird.
north of
Yes.
Boston.
So he's being investigated and is placed on paid leave right now, which is, that's it. We'll see where that goes. And it's one of those eye-opening things where you see that abortion is used to cover up greater evil.
Yeah. That's
Yep.
tragic.
We hear these kind of stories where an abusive situation where a woman gets bullied into an abortion, or traffickers take advantage of the abortion system. And it's got that unintended consequence of it enables bad men to be worse.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that in what we call the judicial bypass fight. Okay, so judicial bypass, there's a provision in Texas law and in every state that for a minor who doesn't want to involve her parents in in her quest to obtain an abortion, that a judge can step in and stand in the parent's shoes and say, yes, 16, 15, 14-year-old minor, you can go have an abortion and you don't have to tell your parents about it, and you don't even have to tell them that you're pregnant. Obviously, it's terrible. It's terrible. But for abuse, for abuse specifically, we're just getting judicial bypasses and allowing perpetrators to take them to the soccer coach or the volleyball coach or their youth pastor or something, to take them to, or the trafficker, take them to an abortion clinic, get an abortion, and we send the girl right back to the abusive situation.
Right.
So, that's something that we, specifically in Texas have tried to work on. We kind of call it sometimes anti-coercion language, and requiring that we did do one thing a few years ago, that if abuse is suspected and is a reason in a judicial bypass provision, they've got to actually contact law enforcement, the judge, the court, contacts law enforcement to go to the extra step of let's help this woman, help this girl, not send her back to the abuser. So
Yeah.
Well, that answers the situation in the case of minors, but in adults,
right, you're right.
They're an adult. They did what they wanted to do, right? But what we've done is essentially destroy the evidence of the crime,
Yeah.
which in any other situation you go to jail for.
Yeah.
And you made a good observation about where is the Me Too movement in this,
Yeah, I remember. It was just a few years ago. The Me Too, the hashtag Me Too movement really rose to prominence, and that was a good thing. I mean, it really brought awareness to the fact that men abuse their power over women, and that is evil. And men need to be taught to respect women. And women also need to have the confidence that when they speak out, that they will be trusted. I mean, these were all really, really good principles. But the pro-life movement was like, hello, we've been talking about this for 40 plus years. And I found that very interesting that it was like suddenly the leftist media, the leftist crowd was like joining a conversation that we've been trying to promote for forever. But they still wouldn't want to connect those dots,
Right.
that abortion actually enables these abusers to do whatever they want to women and tell women, whether it's by coercion, like verbal coercion, like don't tell anyone, like I'll kill you, I'll ruin your career, I won't promote you for that job you're looking for, whatever it may be, or whether it's this physical abuse. I mean, this is a real problem, and men need to first of all be raised to be real men. Like we really need real men in this world. So thanks, Brent, for being a real man. All the pro-life men out there, thank you for being a good, strong man. We need you. And also, you know what?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Just hot take time. I find it really, really sad that the pro-abortion movement for a long, long time has told men, like, you don't have a say. And in the abortion pro-life conversation, because you don't have a uterus, you don't have a say. And now they just keep changing that talking point. And now there's like this we're with her movement where like we support women, and like men are supposed to support women to do all these bad things, like we're with her, we support her through the abortion, but they're not allowed to say they're pro-life. And now it's like, well, women can be men and men can be women, so that's even more confusing. Like it's just do we need men or not? You know, like men are men and women are women, and we need to support women to have healthy pregnancies, and who better to do that than a good man, like a good man to protect her and to help provide for her in her vulnerability.
The left will never acquiesce to that. I mean, they're never going to touch the holy grail of abortion. And that's what's driving that extremism, is what's driving people who normally used to identify as I don't want to, I mean, maybe old school Democrats, but that's not even, you're thinking like 50s, 60s, 70s. We're just talking 10, 15, 20 years ago. People who identified as Democrats, like the Democrat Party is getting, liberal means a whole different word than Democrat does, and progressives, that is not my ilk. And one of that, we can see that we've talked about this before, but in the South, in South Texas, driving historical Democrat voters into the arms of conservatives, because it just, I mean, it just doesn't, it defies logic. But you're right. It's like they would never admit that abortion promulgates, covers up abuse.
Right. And it gets to the point, like you said, of they wouldn't want to touch the holy grail of abortion, because one of the reasons that we don't see a lot of backlash on this case of this man in power who is abusing his family, abusing this woman, and they're not calling this out, because that would mean if I condemn this, I'm also going to have to admit that abortion played a role in this and empowered bad men to do worse. And I can't live with that conclusion, so I just have to be silent about this. And that helps no one. 0 people are helped by that.
Amen.
Well, we're going to have to pause the conversation before
I need to calm down for a second.
It's true. But we've got more sketchy stuff with the federal government to talk about. Surprise. But we have some important information for you first. Texas Right to Life is facing 14 lawsuits from Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry. They're suing us because we helped pass the Texas Heartbeat Act, and they're trying to scare us pro-lifers into backing down. Please join us in the fight against Planned Parenthood and donate to protect the Texas Heartbeat Act. You can fight for the unborn and build a pro-life Texas that values every human life. Go to texasrighttolife.com/lawsuit to make your contribution. Every cent will help, and it's greatly appreciated. Have a child in high school? Register them for Team Life Camp coming up on April 1st weekend in Carville, Texas. They're going to have a blast with canoeing, archery, hiking, and much more, and all the while learning how to better defend the unborn from the crazy agenda of the left. But hurry, the ticket price increases on March 19th, so grab your tickets now. Every life is sacred, and every life is worthy of protection. Register now at teamlifecamp.com. Welcome back, and I am joined by the usual suspects: Kim, pro-life advocate; Veronica, pro-life educator; Emily, pro-life attorney; and I'm Brent, pro-life nerd guy, host, something. I'm not sure how I
Many
fit in
hats.
with you guys.
Producer man.
Yeah, producer man. Okay.
IT guy is what I call you.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is true. All right, so we promised more sketchy stuff. Weird setup there. But it's what the feds are good at, right?
They are.
So the federal budget passes, and it seems to be a pro-abortion Trojan horse.
Lovely. What's in it?
Let's see. There's
What's
all
not
kinds
in it is a better question.
There's better. Yes, it's
You have to finish passing the bill to know what's in it.
That's I have been told this.
That is not an endorsed position.
no,
Thank you, attorney.
Well, looks like so I'm reading the article on our website. Thanks, Samantha, for writing this. This budget's like 3,000 pages long, so I'm not sure anyone really knows what's in it.
And it was released hours before the vote is the other thing. So we've got this 3,000-ish page bill. You have a
That's
couple
terrible.
hours to read it. Good
I mean,
luck.
this is why this is just why normal people are so fed up with the federal government, and that's why you have states like Texas passing the Heartbeat Act, Governor DeSantis passing their 15-week ban. I mean, it's just fed up with the crazy.
Got some feelings there, dude?
worse. It gets worse. Hold on.
Okay.
Tell us more.
Oh, let's see. So there was $32.5 million for the pro-abortion UN population fund. That seems like tax dollars well
I
spent.
mean, that's population control. Do we all understand that?
Yes.
Yes.
No, the international exported abortion.
Yes.
And a brand new $200 million for a gender equity and equality action fund.
So what does
Whatever.
that mean? I need abortion in order to be equal to you, Brent?
Because
Well, I
that's
can't have one,
empowering.
so I'm not really sure how that's equal or equitable.
Excellent point.
But I mean, then again, they also say men can be pregnant, so whatever.
It's complicated.
So, just for some perspective, like I know against $1.5 trillion, 200 million doesn't kind of seems like a drop in the bucket, but that's like the entire marketing budget for the last Avengers movie.
Yikes.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
if you want to
That's a
sway
lot
a
of
world
money.
opinion, here's $200 million. Let everybody hear your message.
And that's the thing too of like this big pile of money for abortion groups, okay? Like I really like your analogy there of that's the budget, advertising budget for Avengers Endgame. You know, money is fungible. So if Emily only has $20 and she wants to buy groceries, but she also wants to buy cigarettes, and she can't spend the $20 on both things. But I said, okay, Emily, I'll give you $20. You can spend this on groceries, but you cannot spend this on your cigarettes. Emily doesn't smoke cigarettes. I'm just making this analogy here for the internet.
My Nana tried to get me one.
The
Stories-
South.
stories for
Welcome to
another
the
time.
South. Okay. Anyways, so now I've given Emily $20 to buy her groceries. Well, I didn't give her $20 to buy cigarettes, but that freed up her money to buy the cigarettes, a behavior that like I don't agree with.
Right.
And so now like I didn't give her that. I didn't fund it directly, but I empowered that action. And so this whole budget is frustrating because the Republican congressmen will say like, oh, well, we passed the Hyde Amendment on it. And the Hyde Amendment says that you can't spend taxpayer dollars directly on abortions. So yeah, you got that, which is good. We support the Hyde Amendment. We love the Hyde Amendment. And that is a big victory, but they called it quits too early.
Yeah.
They should have fought on these other things of not including these millions of dollars for these
Right.
pro-abortion programs. And so now we've just handed the abortion industry a big pile of our own money to go and
Yeah.
like spend on, you know, their big marketing agencies and everything. And even if it's like, oh, well, the Planned Parenthood will spend this on STI screenings and whatever else, like legitimate healthcare. Maybe that's so, but that also frees up more of their money to spend on abortions, to spend on promoting abortions and marketing abortions. and
Opening new clinics.
Look,
yeah,
yes.
all of it.
Okay, change the example and put wine in place of cigarettes, and you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to go buy the bottle of wine.
You're not going to spend it on organic kale?
So, no. Maybe spinach, but
Hard
but,
no.
Okay.
But then the second part of it is, I would say just passing the Hyde Amendment is not a victory. That's just the basic decency that we have.
That's
the
bare
role
minimum.
that we've done, and I guess it could be kind of a little bit of a victory in just how radical and pro-abortion this administration is. I mean, it is. I mean, poor Joe has no idea what's going on in the world, but everybody else. And so it's just this. We're just still incentivizing, keeping the doors open of these abortion mills that kill. It's just
Makes me happy to live in Texas. Always happy to live in
Yes.
Texas. But the Texas budget is super pro-life. And that, thank goodness, not to toot our own horn, but our ledge team down the hall, y'all met John Siegel last week. Him and his team, they've worked so hard on that for many years. I think the last Texas budget was funded pregnancy centers and other
Maternity
family
homes.
assistance through the A2A program. It was like $100 million.
And
right?
Alternatives to abortion. That's what A2A means.
A2A, yeah, means alternatives to abortion. So they help fund pregnancy centers, maternity homes, adoption agencies, all this stuff. And they took away Planned Parenthood's money. So not only did they fund pro-life efforts, they defunded pro-abortion efforts. So yeah, y'all welcome to Texas. Just come on over. It's great over here.
I like your Avengers analogy. Like, we should use that rhetorically at session about the next time. Like, hey, do you want a half of the marketing budget of Avengers, or do we want to spend at least as much as the marketing?
I mean, why not?
On the
Why
Avengers
not?
movie.
Do you want to be Captain
I think
America
that's
or Thanos?
There you go.
Yeah.
I like to be on the side of Captain America and Iron Man, not Thanos.
Sometimes whenever that movie came out, I was looking at some of Margaret Sanger's quotes. Margaret Sanger is the founder of Planned Parenthood, and comparing to them to some of Thanos's quotes. And I'm like,
We should play a
there's a
game.
lot of similarities.
We should play a game. Margaret
Yeah.
Sanger or Thanos?
Who said
Was
it?
it
Margaret Sanger or Thanos?
Thanos?
Well, even crazier, I like to read radical leftist newspapers occasionally for fun. And I was reading Jezebel, and they were praising Thanos. There's a whole, it was a
You were a
really
nerd.
popular article on Jezebel.com or whatever. And praising Thanos. They were like, actually, Planned Parenthood does this, and it's great. I was like, wow, you guys are really creepy.
Well, at least they admitted that much of it. They admitted like, oh, Planned Parenthood does this. So whenever your enemy tells you what they think, you better believe them.
Yep,
I mean,
true.
it's Jezebel.com. That should tell you everything you need to know right there.
Please,
Should.
careful. Don't let your kids.
I
read
have
that
the
newspaper.
rosary. Don't worry. We'll pray.
What else is in this bill
Oh dear.
or this
It's-
funding package?
It's a lot of pet projects and shenanigans. I mean, we could get way into the weeds here. Gosh, I don't think 3,000 pages. I don't think anybody really knows what all's been shoved in here.
$1.5 trillion. Okay,
That's
so
crazy.
again, it's like it's easier to say what's not in this bill, but I do want to make a point that a couple of good congressmen from Texas reached out to us and said, okay, there was an opportunity to say what in the bill you do vote for and what you don't, so you can kind of pick those line items. And some people did do that. But I think overall, the Republicans were kind of snoozing on this, and they should have fought to take these out. They didn't, and now we just handed a big old pile of our money again to Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry.
Yeah, because the government. It's just 1.5 trillion. They just print money, right?
about to say,
They just
or
print
fake
money,
money.
right?
That's literally what they've been doing. They're printing fake money. Like
Another
crazy.
show for another time, maybe.
Yes.
But yeah, they're taking our money and spending it on this. So this is why it's important to go vote, guys.
And if you want more information, there's an article at TexasRightToLife.com by, you said, Samantha Farnsworth.
below.
Yeah, go check that out.
Do it.
Well, on that note, guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
What
So-
are we talking about next week?
Next week, I think Jackson's gonna join us. for a little
Jackson
while.
will be with us. He's going
Yeah.
to talk about the Supreme Court. So we've talked about the Mississippi case that could overturn Roe v. Wade. And so Jackson's going to break that down for us. And we always make the joke
Love it.
about how we have a ton of Jacksons. We have Jackson, our guest, who's going to be on. There is Dobbs v. Jackson, which is the Mississippi case. There's the heartbeat case that's called Whole Woman's Health v. Jackson. And we have the new Supreme Court nominee, Ketanji Brown Jackson. So we're only one away from having the Jackson 5. Maybe next week we'll get one.
If anyone named Jackson wants to apply to work here, please do.
Yes, and then we will have the full
Jackson
the full
5.
Jackson 5. Yes.
And we'll dance. Stay tuned for next week. Dancing included.
Okay, we're done.
Okay, well, next week, the Jackson 4, at least. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next week.